वयर डिफरंट आहा कारण हिंदू ना फकीरप्पा अशें कितें आहा फ्रॉम पण रिलेशन जागा जावन हजबंड फादर थंय अदर्स म्हणून घातलेले आहा आनी तें नांव क्रिस्तांव आहा वयर हिंदू सगळें क्रिस्तांव आहा.
मी सगळ्याक भोंवताले तेन्ना खुबशे पंच मेंबरांनी भायर रावन पोलिंग बूथ आसले तेच्या भायल्यान रावन लोकांक पयशे वाडटाले ते आनी तें तरी पुलिसांनी पळोवपाक जाय आसलें. पुलिसांक तेन्ना फोन केले तेन्ना ते कांय तेजेर एक्शन जावंक ना. आमी दाखोवन बसले.
Thing was that I think more than any other election ever in the history of Goa, the money that was spent and distributed, was most in this election.
When one person went to vote, somebody had already voted on his behalf, and there was secondly another lady when she went to vote, her name was already showing cancelled on the list. In spite of she witnessed it, somebody had literally clicked a picture after he voted, and we all.
Polling agents were allowed, some polling were not allowed, but that I didn't make an issue. But what is important, the fairness of elections to that extent which was happening earlier or not there.
Polling for Goa elections 2022 is finally up. It was a good turnout of 79.16% of voters coming out to vote for these elections. We were expecting the RG factor and the anti-incumbency factor to play, and we were expecting a huge turnout. Unfortunately, there was just 79% people came out to vote compared to 82% the last time. The North Goa voted around 80% of people voted, while in South Goa 78% of people voted. Now this looks like a good elections for us because when you have huge majority of people coming and voting, it's a good mandate that comes out. However, the elections are up, but how was the election conducted is another question, and that's the reason why today we'll be walking and meeting people in Tiswadi. As a sample, we're going to find out with the election agents, we're going to find out with the candidates how they felt the election happened and what do they think was the verdict from their end about their election in Goa.
स्वामी तुमी सान आंध्रे कॉन्स्टिट्युन्सीन इलेक्शन एजंट आसले. तुमकां कितें डिस्क्रिपन्सी मेळ्ळा ड्युरींग द इलेक्शन्स?
आतां आमी स्क्रुटनी केले 17A स्क्रुटनी. आतां हांवें तें एब्जेक्शन रेज केल्लो कित्याक लागून आमचे सांत आंध्रे पार्ट नंबर 25 नांव वयर डिफरंट आहा कारण हिंदू ना फकीरप्पा अशें कितें आहा फ्रॉम सिरियल नंबर 391 to 94 4 वोटिंग्स आहा आनी सकयल हजबंड रिलेशन जागा जावन हजबंड फादर थंय अदर्स म्हणून घातलेले आहा आनी तें नांव क्रिस्तांव आहा वयर हिंदू सगळें क्रिस्तांव आहा. तें म्हाका मातशें
आनी तुमी हेर आतां इन्फॉर्म केल्या?
या ऑलरेडी इन्फॉर्म केलें तेन्ना आमी सांगला 10 days टायम दिला ते हे करपाक लागून समरायज करपाक लागून आनी सांगला. आनी सेकेंड थिंग कितें आमचे हितून थोडे आमचे बूथ पोलिंग बूथ एजंटान सांगला की नांव एक आहा आनी फोटो एक दुसरो आहा. आनी थर्ड हांव जंय रावता GMC क्वॉर्टर्सान थंय एकट्या एकच पार्ट नंबर 8 आहा सेम मनीस 2 साडी आहा 2 ते दिला
आनी दोगांयकूय अलाव केले? अलाव करपाक जाय, बट कित्याक लागून खबर आहा ते दोनूय हितून एपीक नंबर दुसरे आहा, फोटो सेम आहा, नाव सेम आहा, रूम नंबर सेम आहा, एड्रेस सेम आहा, पण एपीक नंबर डिफरंट आहा दोन्ही.
My name is Rohan Kalamutkar. I'm from Saligaon constituency, GP candidate. During election time, जेन्ना आमी सगळ्याक भोंवताले तेन्ना खुबशे पंच मेंबरांनी भायर रावन पोलिंग बूथ आसले तेच्या भायल्यान रावन लोकांक पयशे वाडटाले ते आनी तें तरी पुलिसांनी पळोवपाक जाय आसलें. पुलिसांक जेन्ना फोन केले तेन्ना ते कांय तेजेर एक्शन जावंक ना. आमी दाखोवन बसून दिल्ले बाबा अमको वाडटा अमके कडेन आसा म्हणून. कित्याक पयशे वाडटा दीस रात जेन्ना रातचे बसून लेट नायट 12, 1, 2 सकाळचे 3 बसून जे पयशे वाडटा कित्याक कुत्रे खूब भोगताले ते एरियेक बायकीनी कोण कोण भोंवताले हे खूब जालें. लोकांक मॅसेज की जेन्ना इतले फाटल्या दिसांनी आमी म्हणटाले की पयशे दिवन जेन्ना तुमी वोट आपलो विकता तो तुमच्या भुरग्यांचो फुडार उडयता. सो हेका लागून आमी दीस रात वावुरताले की ते पयशे जे दिता पळय ते घेवं नाकान तुमी तुमचो फुडार उडयतल्यान. सो हेका लागून आयज आमी दीस रात वावुरताले भुरग्यांचो फुडार करपाक. फायनली पेरंट्स आर वर्किंग टू ग्रो देयर चिल्ड्रन अँड एज्युकेट देम. बट आयज एज्युकेशन दिवन बसून तांकां जर तांकां जॉब बिजनसीस करूंक मेळना जाल्यार नो यूज ऑफ एज्युकेशन. आनी हें एज्युकेशन म्हणटा सगळ्यान पयलीं वोटींग डे दिसा पोलिंग डे दिसा तुमी पयलें तें एज्युकेशन घेवपाक जाय मागीर फुडलें एज्युकेशन दियान.
Overall, the election process was very smooth. Couple of things, there were good things, also bad things. Good things, I would say, the election commission took initiative of allowing home voting for senior citizens and persons with disabilities. That was a good thing. They provided disposable gloves, for COVID safety. That was a good thing. The bad thing was that I think more than any other election ever in the history of Goa, the money that was spent and distributed, was most in this election. And because a lot was at stake, because a lot of anti-incumbency there, and people were wanting to vote for a big change. So to influence them, to dissuade them, a lot of money was spent, and I think it was done very openly, especially the last 3-4 days before election. I didn't see much deterrence from the election commission. There should have been police all over the place. People should have been scared to even come out and think about distributing money. Instead, groups of people were standing on the road talking about who distributed how much. So that was a big failure. One thing that the election commission I would suggest is, now that counting is going to come, is that many people still have doubts on EVMs. So to increase their confidence, I would recommend that a random 10%, that means 4 out of 40 seats should be chosen randomly, and the VVPAT slips should be counted to make sure that they match the EVM count. So that will give people confidence that there was no problem with the EVMs, especially because there's more than a month between the polling date and the result date. So these are my suggestions and observations.
Well, finally we've come to the end of elections, and it's been an amazing journey. What we witnessed in this last few weeks and even yesterday on election is a lot of money also has got distributed into our constituency, and things better police force should be arranged, where key areas where the money is getting distributed. Then also I got to receive from a few voters saying that when one person went to vote, somebody had already voted on his behalf, and there was a big issue and problem. And in the end, that gentleman was allowed to have a postal ballot in front of everyone and sealed in front of them. Secondly, another lady, when she went to vote, her name was already showing cancelled on the list, in spite of she being there. So she directly questioned, saying that when I am already there, how can my name be cancelled? I've been here residing all this time. So there has been an error which has happened, and that also got resolved after questioning with the officer on duty, and she again did a voting through the ballot system. Thirdly is there was another person when we went on our rounds, visiting. We witnessed it. Somebody had literally clicked a picture after he voted, and we also reached at that point of time. But that presiding officer was very quick in action, and she caught hold of the voter and said, this has to be taken now for inquiry, and we'll be calling for the police, and proper scrutiny will be done. And I think so. Today's newspaper also we read that someone else was caught like that taking. Because we've got to hear that a lot of money would have been distributed after they would show their mobile saying that who they voted for. So this type of things, I think so the officers have done a fantastic job where they caught hold of and things. But we have to be vigilant, and we've had issues in and around our constituency. But overall, thanks to all the officers and for doing a fantastic job.
Discrepancy only in polling where the polling agents of different parties, they were working differently. They were copying the numbers on the roll, which were not allowed in this. But I didn't make an issue, because it is for me saying that, complaining to that has no effect, because there were some polling agents were allowed, some polling were not allowed. But that I didn't make an issue. But what is important, the fairness of elections, to that extent which was happening earlier was not there, but it was controlled.